let's get started then. So the first question we are discussing now, please concentrate now. Okay, we are starting off. Is what are the prospects of ocean energy for India? What are the prospects? Question number 1A, section A. Prospects of ocean energy for India. I hope you understand what we mean by the word prospects. So prospect का मतलब क्या है? What is the future potential? What is the possibility of harnessing it? And of course, must also talk about what are the importance of it and so on. What are the prospects of ocean energy for India? Now, इसमें 4 things your answer should have. Your answer should have a reference of the present day energy security problem in India. Energy security problem in India. We're talking about energy for all. Okay. And we also are talking about sustainable sources. We're talking about non-polluting and non-fossil fuel options. Non-fossil fuel options. ये बहुत important aspect है. Very important aspect is we want some kind of a regional balance in our energy security. Okay, where right now, if you look at energy production and energy consumption, the Western India and the Southern India are among the highest producers. They're among the highest producers, and some of the least use में Central India आता है and Eastern India भी आता है. And of course, the area of perpetual energy deficit are the island regions. They are the island regions. So we're talking about energy in India, energy security and security in terms of for all, sustainable sources. Okay, and a 4th very important aspect is linking energy with the security aspects. We have to diversify and also reduce our import dependence. When we say import dependence, we're trying to restrict our oil import dependence and also try to restrict our dependence on the import of solar equipments, including the photovoltaic cells. We're talking about the import of expensive batteries. The technology here. The technology itself is imported and very expensive. So remember, any question on energy that you are asked, you should be able to discuss the energy dimension from these 4 areas. Again, energy security as in security for all. Now, for all में बहुत important है. We talk in terms of affordable energy and also talk about energy for the rural areas, rural regions, the poorer population. It's then we talk about energy security, energy for all. Sustainable sources may we are talking about emission problems, we're talking about pollution aspects and so on. Okay, and finally, the regional balance. India may there is lot of regional inequality. Okay, the west and the southern regions, these are the most surplus areas in energy, whereas the central part of India and the eastern India, including the northeastern India, these areas have problems of energy deficit, both in terms of production and even in terms of consumption. Northeast में the production फिर भी better है, but the consumption rate, per capita consumption continues to be very, very low. And then I said linking security, okay, aspect also. Now keeping this in mind, you must talk about the advantage of the ocean sources of energy. When you talk about energy from this perspective, what happens is the examiner now starts having confidence. Okay, you understand the problem of energy, and that is why so ocean sources can be a very important basis of diversifying and reducing the dependence. Very important part of a regional balance because lots of coastal areas can benefit. Okay, a lot of the island regions can benefit. By the way, in general, the coastal regions of eastern India are energy deficit regions. Because uske aspas, you cannot have HEP projects, you can't even have the large thermal projects. The coastal regions in general will have energy deficit regions. So you're talking about that. and sustainability in terms of non-fossil fuel also. So keep these 4 dimensions in mind and then say that yes, ocean sources are a very important source. They are a very important source to meet the energy objectives of India. And by the way, I hope you know that India may targets hain that by 2022, about 175 gigawatts of power has to come from renewable energy. याद है आपको ये वाला? This is one of the targets that we have by 2020. Of course, the revised भी हुआ था. I forget the revised figure, but this is what I know right now. 2022 now it's 450. Okay, now 450, and I think the target they have set is 2030 का target रखा है शायद. Yes, 2030. This was the first target we have. Now 430 gigawatts of power has to be generated from renewable resources. Okay, additional. Okay, it's over and above 175. Okay, additional 130. So you can talk about the prospects of energy sources, also ocean, also from this purpose, that if India has to meet the targets of renewable resources, renewable energy resources, okay, this and even more than this, the oceans are a very important source. So let these 2 discussions be part of your introduction. It gives the examiner a sense of confidence. Okay, you understand what is the importance of ocean. Uske baad, you can have a schematic on. What are the options. Ocean mein options kya available hai. You probably could use some kind of flow chart or schematic. It includes tidal sources. It includes wave energy. It includes OTEC. And you may also, halanki traditionally in the oceans we don't add that. But oceans may you can also add the methane ice crystals, the methane hydrates, the methane hydrates, like hydrates. You can also add these. Yes, okay, that way. Yes, correct. You are right. Ye jo targets hai, yes, you are right. In these targets, okay, we are not including ocean. You are right. In this target, we have included solar, we have included hydel, we have bioplants. So our point is, see, ultimately the objective of this renewable energy is wind also. Yes, wind also. The whole idea is that we have to go beyond our conventional fossil fuel. So you can add here that if oceans are also tapped, okay, the amount of renewable energy could probably be better achieved. Okay, so that is the way you develop. You're right. In the additional way, we have not added oceans. It only is about solar energy, hydro energy, okay, bio source of energy, and wind they have added. You are right. Oceans can add over and above this. Now we have some surveys. If you know this, the tidal potential of India is approximately 125,000 megawatts ka potential hai. The wave energy is approximately 40,000 megawatts. OTEC is 200,000 megawatts. On methane hydrate mein, there is no figure yet on this. Okay, no figure. So this could be part of your schematic. Okay, and you could draw a map also of India. The tidal main source is your Gulf of Cambay and the Kutch regions, along with some of the creeks that we have, okay, along the western coast mein jo creeks hain. Wave energy thoda scattered hai. Wave south mein bhi hai, along the mouth of delta, Sundarbans delta mein bhi hai, Durga Dhwani creek bhi hai. Okay. And OTEC, it is fairly dispersed. Good part of the open oceans mein OTEC ho sakta hai. And OTEC can also be an important source for the island regions. You can draw a map of India and you can show some of these places. Okay, you have got Vizhinjam, you have got Durga Dhwani. Okay, you can talk about the tidal prospects of. So, itne mein diagram mein khatam kar dena. Now, talking about what are the importance, what is the significance and the importance of ocean based energy resources. Now, one of the very important aspect is that they are mostly clean. Okay, of course, gas hydrates, they ultimately are also type of your natural gas hydrates, but the gas hydrates में भी इतना ज़्यादा pollution नहीं होगा. Why? The amount of carbon involved is relatively lesser. Again, it's more efficiently you can burn this. So it is mostly clean. And well, cleanest is OTEC. OTEC में ecological problems भी almost negligible. Okay, so it's almost clean. And then the ocean sources are more reliable. They are more reliable. Okay, the sources are more consistent. Okay, so they are not amenable to as much fluctuations. Wind energy is highly flexible. It is not as reliable. Wind के other problems and environmental problems, they are known to impact birds and the rest. So wind के ये problems हैं. But OTEC is more reliable, more consistent. Okay, but your ocean energy, the ocean energy is abundant. It's abundant, almost inexhaustible. Okay, talk about India's coastline and the EEZ, more than 3 million square kilometers of EEZ hai, and we have the long coastline of more than 7,000 kilometers. So almost inexhaustible source. Okay, and the very important aspect is that it will help us diversify. It will help us diversify the sources. But the biggest challenge we have is related to technology and the costs, because the ocean technology are relatively not as well developed. Okay, so this could be part of your conclusion, challenges. The technology is expensive. Okay, the cost is still prohibitive. We need researches. India's National Institute of Ocean Technology is a collaboration or a department of IIT Madras ke saath mein, they have been developing. This is the primary challenge that we have, technology and the cost aspects. We have not yet been able to develop that reliably. So ये पूरा answer अगर आपका 1.5 page में भी होता है, that's fair enough. No, polymetallic nodules, well, they are not directly sources of energy, Sunil. Polymetallic nodules are used in lot of components, but directly through a source of energy है polymetallic nodules. They're used in lot of components, cobalt and the rest. Yes, prospects का मतलब होता है importance and the future benefit and the possibility of us exploiting it. That is what we mean by prospects. Can we exploit it or not? Yes, we can exploit it, provided the cost and the technology aspects are taken care of. Okay? Okay, so that is one question. Second question is, write a short note on the physiography of Terai region. Physiography of the Terai region. Now, I think this is not really a very easy question, okay, because 150 word में लिखना एक पेज में may not be as easy for the Terai region. But देखो, ऐसे questions को एक very important technique is use the technique of comparison. See, when you do not have too much words or too much content for anything, a very good way of managing is you try to do a bit of comparison based write-up, and you also do a bit of regional description. Okay, जैसे कि आपके आंसर में you can start off with that what is the Terai region? What is Terai region is the beginning of the answer. Terai region is part of, it is the a zone of the northern plains. Okay, this is the east-west stretch of narrow plains. Okay, beyond the Bhabbar region. The Terai regions is an area of swamps, is an area of water-logged conditions, okay, associated with bad drainage, where the rivers surface out. Okay, so this is part of your description. What is the Terai region? उसके बाद आप एक drawing कर लीजिए. Okay, we can make a diagram. You probably can show Himalayas and you can show the floodplains, river here. Okay, the Bhabbar belt, and you could shade the Terai belt. बाकी को name मत करना. This you can show as the Terai belt. ठीक है? Terai belt. अच्छा, उसके बाद, and you can also name, this is Bhabbar. Okay, this is Bangar, and so on. Now you're describing, okay, describing the physiography. Now, when you say physiography, you must talk about the general elevation. Okay, talk about the slope of the land. Talk about the texture of the grains here. You can talk about the properties of the soil. Okay, you can also talk about the length and width along with other features. The other features may, if you know there are lakes, other features may, you can talk about the erosion, if you know about the Chos regions of Punjab. Okay, lakes may, you have the Tals and the Chars of Bihar, the Tal and the Chars of Bihar, the other features may. No, this is the problem. The question is asking you about physiography of the Terai. Physiography of Terai ka matlab hai, talk about the land aspects. This is something that I am anticipating. That many of you would have written about the climate, written about the vegetation, written about what type of agriculture and crops there. हमारा question बहुत clear है ना? Write a note on the physiography of the Terai region. This is part of the physiography. Physiography is the land aspects. How rivers that are parallel. Parallel beta यहाँ पर होता है ना. They cross this and then they go parallel like this. They cross this area and then they go parallel here. They don't become parallel right at the foothills. Okay, and Terai का कुछ नाम याद है आपको? If I talk in terms of India's regions में, can you tell me what are the Terai regions of India? Give me some names. Give me, yes, the Dwars in Bengal, ठीक है. Names like, give me the district or the places. So Punjab से शुरू करो. Pathankot region in Punjab is Terai. Uttaranchal में बताओ कहाँ पर तेराई है? Uttaranchal में Duns are not Terai regions. Duns, yes, Haldwani and Kath Godam, ये Terai region है. Okay. Haridwar is more of a Bhabbar region, not Awadh plains. Yes, Gorakhpur. If you know Bahraich, Sitapur, these areas are part of UP. I'm sure you know Raxaul. Raxaul hai, Muzaffarpur. Assam plains is almost entirely Terai. The Assam plains hai, that is almost entirely Terai. So this is the type of writing you'll expect. Regions आप India का map बना देना, make India's map. Okay, and then you can talk about this is Terai region. Okay, Pathankot in Punjab, Haldwani, Kathgodam region in Uttaranchal. You have got the border areas of UP, parts of Bihar, parts of Assam, and in Bengal and Assam, they're also called as the Dwars. Siliguri region, Jalpaiguri region. So physiography में क्या क्या आएगा? Physiography में है elevation. Anybody can tell me what's the elevation of the Terai region? कुछ idea बताएंगे आप? What is the elevation of the northern plains in general? See, you have to know this. Northern plains कितना general है? 100-150 meters. So if you want to make a bluff or you want to go for a guess, what do you think you'll put for Terai region? Yes, absolutely. Around 250-300 meters elevation. Fair enough. Okay, so you must know the elevation. Slope of Terai in general is towards south and towards the east. That's how the rivers ultimately move. Elevation. Texture, fine grained hai, swamps hai, waterlogging conditions hai, and waterlogging conditions are impacting soil. You'll have glaciation, nitrate accumulation, blue-green patches honge yahan par, fine textured hai. So you'll also have some amount of good soils here. The width and the length, they are narrowest, okay, towards the east. The narrowest towards the east. The western Terai, they are relatively a bit more broader. They become very, very narrow. By the time you come towards Bengal and you come towards Assam, you cannot differentiate the zones anymore. Terai, Bangar, Khaddar, some milke, it becomes one narrow, swampy region along the foothills of Himalayas. And other features, Bihar mein main kaha, there are Chwars, there are Tals, there are erosions called as Chos around Pathankot. Okay, these are dissected. These are highly dissected plains of Punjab. And then conclusion में आप add कर सकते हो. Conclusion में add कर सकते हो. The Terai regions are very valuable. Okay, they have had sal forests, but they ultimately have become agricultural lands, supporting rice cultivation, supporting sugarcane cultivation, horticulture cultivation, mango and lychee plantations. ठीक है? So, when the answer of this? Conclusion में add करना valuable है, sal forest है, अब agricultural land है, the problems of ये सब चीज conclusion में, the problems of salinization and the rest. Let's move on. The next question we have is, analyze the pattern of trade, India's trade with Southeast Asian countries. Analyze the pattern. By the way, when you say analyze the pattern of trade, what is analysis? Tell me, what are the products? Tell me a bit about advantage and disadvantage of the relationship. Tell me about the future prospects, what can be done. आपको products का pattern बताना है, advantage, disadvantage for India, बताओगे आप, analyze करोगे. Future may tell us how things should be, how things are. Yes, absolutely. Like analysis may, you can also talk about some kind of inter-region dependence. Okay. And very importantly, you have to bring in some bit of geography also. In terms of roots, in terms of some geography concepts also. So let's start off the answer. Introduction, you can say that Southeast Asia and ASEAN, Southeast Asia and ASEAN are one of the biggest trade partners of India, along with US, along with China, EU, and Japan. Germany. They are one of the bigger trade partners of India. Some facts here that I looked up, the total value of trade is approximately more than $80 billion. Approximately 47 billion India ka imports hai, 47 billion is imports, and approximately 35 billion imports hai. So India has a net deficit. It has a net trade deficit with Southeast Asia and ASEAN. Okay? This could be a nice introduction telling that you know what this area is. Now, the ASEAN and along with China, since the 1990s, has emerged as an important core region. This is a geographical concept. It's an important core region. Okay, whereas India continues to be a semi-periphery, core periphery के concept में. China is the main core along with ASEAN. Otherwise, ASEAN in itself is another of the semi-periphery, but a significant semi-periphery. And India continues to be semi-periphery. And there has been a trade relationship. 1990s mein, the bilateral relationship was barely about $2 billion, and now it has exceeded approximately $80 billion. So I brought in some idea of core periphery concept here. Then analysis. This is one aspect of the analysis. The second aspect of analysis is you could talk that the relationship is largely the consequence of the globalization-led growth with a reduction in tariffs. Okay, और tariffs में क्या है? The ASEAN has managed to access Indian market. So Indian market of what? Fishes, Indian market oil, Indian market coconut, Indian market, textile, Indian market of machines and electronics. Okay, so isme oil is a very big component. Coconut coming from Malaysia, coconut from Philippines. Okay, textile from Indonesia in a big way. Machines and electronics ये Philippines पे से भी है. Okay, ये Thailand से भी है, Indonesia से भी है, Singapore से भी है. Okay, so globalization-led growth has been one of the basis of the relationship, and that which was further supported by a reduction in tariffs. The tariff reduction hua, so ASEAN countries had access to Indian market in what products? Fishes, fisheries, oil, coconut, textile, machines and electronics. Machines and electronics. Oil mein, very important oil, you know this now, is palm oil. Palm oil Malaysia se, palm oil Indonesia se. Very, very important import for India. Now after Mahathir Mohamad makes a stupid statement about India, okay, he didn't have to say things, but he did. You know how India blocked the oil imports. Okay, how India ultimately challenged and okay, informally said, we will not take oil from palm, from Malaysia. So oil from Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines also is a major exporter of oil. Coconut का major exporter Malaysia है, to some extent Philippines भी है. Textile largely from okay, Indonesia, from Vietnam, from Cambodia also, and machines and electronics from Philippines, Thailand, Indonesia, Singapore. So that's about how it all started. Next, talking about the pros and cons. The pros and cons में. Pros and cons में क्या है? That compared to India have been higher. That's why India runs a net trade deficit. It runs a net trade deficit. And that's one of the reasons for this is that agriculture-based imports have been higher, plus also the electronics imports have been higher. और ये दोनों का रीजन है, इंडिया हैज नॉट डेवलप्ड बोथ इट्स सेक्टर. इंडिया का एग्रीकल्चर प्रोडक्शन में सरप्लस इज लेस, एंड इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स एंड मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में इंडिया हैज नॉट डन मच. ये एनालाइजिंग, रिमेंबर एनालिसिस में क्या है, दैट इंडिया हैज नॉट रियली utilized the access of the ASEAN market, whereas ASEAN has used access to the Indian market. Okay, so that's one of the concerns that we have. The intra-regional trade of ASEAN members is high and have blocked imports from other countries, including from India. The intra-regional trade of ASEAN, within them, they trade quite a bit. Within them, they have got good economic and trade relationships, and they have blocked imports from other countries, including from India. So the ASEAN and the Southeast Asia largely are export-driven. Again, the imports are not. That's why this was the unequal partnership. Remember what the question was? The question was analyze the trade. Analyze the trade. आप कह रहे हो कि first you have given some figures about the relationship. Second is you have talked about the impact of globalization. You have talked about the pros and cons, and you also talked about how India continues to be one of those semi-peripheries, whereas China ke saath mein ASEAN has now become an important core. Yes, and the answer while talking about RCEP. Yeah, India has a free trade agreement, but not in, and ये free trade agreement भी I think कब से हुआ था? 2003 onwards, I think. 8 onwards, okay. 8. Achha, now, free trade agreement does not mean okay, that you can dump the products. So India is not able to reduce the cost of its exports. So that's one reason why ASEAN is able to benefit from Indian market, but India does not benefit from the ASEAN market. And I think a free trade agreement the ASEAN के साथ में, it has not been entirely for all the products. Okay, it has not been in all the products, because even in free trade agreements, many of them are able to put what's called as the phytosanitary clauses. Okay, that's an important one. And China's imports, they are able to crowd out Indian exports. The rate at which China's can give, India cannot give. The rates are high. Or services nahi hai. So you know all these points. Please add those points. India has never been able to leverage its marketing base. Talk about that. And conclusion में RCEP बात करो. And conclusion में important होगा if you can talk about Indian Ocean and you can talk about the maritime trade prospects with the rim countries. Bhagyashree, on the face of it, I think not joining RCEP is a fairly good choice. It's just that we have to do something to bolster our base. Otherwise, we will miss out the bigger advantages. Abhi to RCEP nahi join karna, I think it was a good step. But long term mein RCEP ke bahar rehna can actually go against you. You must do something so that your manufacturing, okay, your products range increases. Long term, yes, you know better. GS में you know these points better. The short term, definitely. और China के involvement है. So OBOR का भी वही issue है. You cannot be out of that forever. Okay, but by the time you join them, it's nice if you are able to develop your own capacities. So that's about this. Next is, what is social well-being and its role in sustainable development? What is social well-being and what is its importance in sustainable development of India? In fact, the social well-being as a concept and sustainable development as a concept, these are actually reciprocal concepts. अगर social well-being है, it will help sustainable development. Okay, and if you have sustainable development, you will have social well-being. So social well-being में क्या आता है? It's about all-round development. It's all about all-round development, including we talk about security, we talk about leisure, we're talking about a disaster, resilience, we're talking about environment and drinking water, talking about social relations, talking about education. Okay, a very nice write-up you have in your human geography textbook. Okay, I would like you to look that up. मैं आपको point out भी किया था मैंने. Okay, in human geography, there's a good write-up on social well-being. I'll give you the page number. Page number 58-59, Human Geography by Majid Hussain. Okay, it's a very nice. इसमें housing भी add करना होगा. So food, water, housing, safe workplace, safe physical environment, health, education, security, relationship with others, physical security, economic security, safe birth control, and so on. There must be no crimes. There should be good health care. So page number 58 and 59. Okay, and according to Smith, there are 7 indicators of social well-being, income, wealth, employment, living environment, housing, physical, mental health, education, social order, social belonging, recreation, and leisure. Okay, 58. I think ये important होगा. Okay, in Human Geography by Majid Hussain in the 5th edition. Okay? So these are, and what are the components of sustainable development? Sustainable development के components क्या हैं? It includes environmental sustainability. It includes equity. It includes economic justice, and all of this equity to have inter and intra generational. Yes, intra and inter generational. These are, yes, it is in the time and space continuum. Okay? So these components become a part of, okay, you're talking about waste management. Also talk about social order. Okay? So that's why they are related. Social well-being. Okay. So you start off the answer by explaining what is social well-being. So social well-being as a concept is the one of the components of human development. This is expansion of the concept of development to include not just economic, okay, economic growth and physical health. It also includes, it's one of the components of human development, is the expansion of the concept of development to include not just economic growth and physical health, but also, okay, talking about emotional health, spiritual health. We're talking about equal opportunities for all, along with physical, economic, and social security for all. Okay, so explain what social well-being is. And then you can say that social well-being and sustainable development, these are interrelated. ये कहते ही आप ये schematic बना सकते हो. So these kind of questions अगर देखें ना, at the first look, they do not look difficult at all. It's when you start thinking on what to write and how to write, they become a problem. Okay, so they are interrelated. You could draw the schematic and explain this. Okay. Now, social well-being, how does it promote? How does it promote sustainable development? How does it promote sustainable development? It promotes sustainable development in 2-3 ways. Okay. Number one is social well-being. Social well-being is based on the concept of participation and is based on the concept of collaboration and developing social relations. So social well-being includes the concept of social capital, which can be used effectively for participative collaborations in a sustainable development. Social well-being is about participation, it's about collaborations and social relations. It's a type of a social capital, and therefore it can be used as one of the important components of sustainable development. Yes, the concept of belonging is an important aspect of sustainable development. Okay, social well-being includes objectives related to food, water, housing, and clean environment. ये इसका objectives है. And therefore, sustainable development can be a means to achieve, okay, social well-being. Then we say social well-being का एक बहुत important component है the social and economic objectives towards healthy life. Social well-being is about social security. Okay, it's about social security. Social well-being is about resilience and capacity building, because without capacity building we cannot move towards a healthy life. Healthy life में water भी है, okay, employment भी है, so we need capacity building, and all of these components become a part of a sustainable development. Why? Because such a model can be based on intergenerational resilient development. The moment you have resilience, capacity building, social security, okay, what this can do is this can develop intergenerational resilient development. So you have to keep linking the components of sustainable development. So ये वाला component collaborations का आ गया. This is about the team work we talk about. Okay, this is about the physical environment, water, housing, food. This is about capacity building. इसमें education आ जाएगा, इसमें health भी आ गया. It helps us develop. So know the themes I am using. This is about team building. Okay, this is about the physical environment. This is about health and education. Okay, capacity building, and therefore we have resilient development. You can add one point here that social well-being is very intricately linked to disaster resilience, and this in turn is linked to sustainable development. This could be one of the discussion points. So now, ये ऐसे answers में ना nothing is wrong. It's more like an essay. Nothing wrong in these write-ups. It's up to you how you want to organize it. आपको basic concepts पता होना चाहिए. Okay, and you can always end the answer. Okay, you can come to answer in context of welfare geography and environmentalism. Welfare geography, the concept of D.M. Smith and his well-being, environmentalism as a movement, how both of these ultimately are part of applied aspects in geography. Geography as a problem-solving discipline. Okay, geography as a discipline that addresses the social concerns. Okay, now one important discussion you could add in this. I mean, if I'm thinking, you could add one point here is that that relevance. This could be a topic you're linking it. Relevance of social well-being and sustainable development in rural and agriculture development in India. ये आप ऐड कर सकते हो. Okay, how social well-being is about livelihood security. Social well-being is about food and water access. Social well-being is related to land asset reforms. Social well-being related to basic energy security in rural areas. Like you're talking in the context of firewood, okay, drinking water and the rest. And how the social well-being component and this component are necessarily a part of India's rural and agriculture development. Okay, so इसमें you can't disagree really. Like यही add कर सकते हो that as a concept, social well-being does not give much importance to economic growth. Okay, but there's always a need to have sustained economic growth, which can probably support the social well-being programs. Like an essay, be ready on this question. ये आप add कर सकते हो. Or relevance of social well-being sustainable development in the hill regions of India. Rural areas of India, hill regions of India, this could be a good one. Take the conclusion towards, I said, no, welfare geography. Take it towards welfare geography. Let's move on. Question number 1E. What are Deccan traps? And discuss their structural details. Now, when I say structural details, what do we mean? Talk about the shape, talk about the rocks, talk about the layers or the trepan beds, Do talk about origin, structure में origin आएगा. And all of this का significance क्या है eventually. So Deccan traps. Start the answer by saying that this is the region of Deccan lava plateau. Typical shape, a series of steps, Swedish word called trepen, and hence a short form called as Deccan traps. The Deccan lava plateau, they have a shape of the steps, series of steps. You could probably draw the diagram if you know. Okay, you could have diagrams like this, You could draw the diagrams here, series of steps here. You could draw India's map, and you know this, you can shade. But इतना करके छोड़ मत देना, tell us the area. जैसे काठियावाड़ region में है, Malwa region में है, parts of Vindhyas and Satpuras also are covered. Maharashtra plateau is covered. Part of Telangana is covered. Okay, so do mark this and give a sense of the regional distribution. I've seen students simply draw India's map and do this and say Deccan lava plateau. As a diagrams would inspire us, okay? Be a bit more specific. What are the regions? Tell us what are the mountains here, Karnataka here, northern part here. Do something of that kind. So you now talk about physiography, the origin related to the lava of flow during the late and mid Cretaceous times, around 60-65 million years ago. Okay, these are basalt lava eruptions. Okay, these are series of layers. There are series of layers of accumulation over ancient lacustrine deposits. याद है आपको ये क्या deposits का नाम है? Lametta and bog beds. Correct. Lametta and bog beds. So you had some lakes here. The lakes have some deposits. Lake have some deposits. और इसके ऊपर में we have these layers. इसके ऊपर में there are layers. Broadly, how many sets we have? We have the upper trepan, we have the middle trepan, and we have the lower trepan. I hope you remember this. Broadly, 3 sets of beds in the upper trepan, and in between this, there are sedimentaries. We call these as inter-trepan beds. Inter-trepan beds, yes. ये describe करना है आपको. This is what you have to describe. We'll talk about. Largely, these are basalt rocks. They are impervious rocks. They are not good aquifers. Whatever water they do store, they store in cracks and they store in inter-trepan beds. Okay, impervious rocks, they will not allow water to flow through them. Impervious rocks, they are not good aquifers. That's why they are structurally, these are not good groundwater provinces of India. These are not, they are poor provinces of India. They've got very limited, they have very limited, and they have unreliable groundwater. Unreliable groundwater. ठीक है, आपको लिखना है 100-150 वर्ड लिखना है. So these are areas. The areas are something like your Piedmont Trapens. That's all. Just leave it at that. That's all. Don't go beyond this. And significance के लिए, the conclusion could be the significance. So they are fertile soils. The fertile soils rich in potash, rich in base content, rich in lime, but groundwater availability is the limitation. ज़्यादा नहीं लिखना है about parallel retreat. Simply mention there's something like the Piedmont Trapens. Okay, Piedmont Trapens, and that's all. Okay, then that's about it for 1E. Let's move on now. So question number 2, forest diversity of India. I think I need not teach you this, okay? India's forest diversity, where you have evergreen forest, monsoon forest, you have got the desert forest, thorn forest, mangrove forest, shola forests, and the significance, biodiversity, monsoon forests, and talk about the rural economy. Okay, mangrove forest, again ecology. Okay, coniferous forests, okay, अलग से montane forests. Okay, आपको बताया भी, and all of you know this. What are the equatorial forests? What are the deciduous, okay, monsoon forests? We have the thorn forests. We have the desert vegetation, mangrove अलग से, shola forest अलग से, montane forest अलग से. Know some species and the location. Hint, okay, equatorial forests, this is biodiversity. Deciduous forests, very important for the rural economy. You're talking about sal, you're talking about teak, talking about mango, you're talking about jamun. Okay, firewood यहीं से आता है, fodder यहीं से आता है. Explain that. Okay, mangrove forest is ecology, and shola forests, they are very unique ecosystems. They are unique ecosystem. They are broad-leaved, temperate forests. Nilgiris 1500 मीटर के हाइट पे है. And mountain forest. Mountain forest में economy भी है, ecology भी है, coniferous trees हैं. Diagram show the distribution. What area has what forests? Show the distribution. 15 mark का, 10 mark का question, you can't add everything down. Draw the distribution. What areas of India have what type of forest? I'm sorry, this is a 20 mark question. Yes, 20 mark question, correct. So you have about 2 pages to write down, 2.5 pages. Okay, you can go towards a vertical zonation. Yes, 20 marks you can go towards vertical zonation. You can vertical zonation में foothills may talk about importance of sal and teak. Then you can talk about the importance of oak forest. Oak forests are very important for water conservation. Then you have the pine trees. Pine trees, इसका slope stabilization है. Hill areas में construction. Okay, pine trees, slope stabilization along with local requirements जो होते हैं. Local requirements में construction में बहुत important है. Okay, construction में बहुत important है. And further you go towards rhododendrons and meadows. These are grazing grounds. These are grazing grounds. ये meadows हैं. They sustain the economy of the pastoralists. ठीक है? So that's about it. I repeat. Equatorial forest, deciduous forest, thorn forest, deserts, Deserts में ज़्यादा कुछ लिखना नहीं है, that species and go through it. Mangrove forest, shola forest, montane forests. Okay, montane forest में you can talk about the vertical zonation. Broadly साल antique है, फिर oak species हैं, oak and deciduous species, temperate deciduous हैं. There are coniferous varieties, and then we have the rhododendrons and meadows. Okay, sal and teak, you know the importance. Oak is very important for water conservation and for the economy of the hills, for the ecology of the hills. So are we done with the forest now? Can we move on? So that's 2A. Let's move on towards the next question, which is 2B. 2B. What are Archean rock formations of India? Discuss the properties and distribution. Yes, okay. So Archean rock formations, Archean rocks के क्या properties हैं? They are older than 2.5 billion years. They are older than the Eparchian discontinuity or unconformity. Eparchian unconformity. They are largely the old Archean granites and gneiss, and we also have the Archean sedimentaries. ये हैं Dharwad. Archean sedimentaries, these are the Dharwad. ये Archean igneous, gneiss, okay, yes, and we have the Archean sedimentaries. I believe you know this. Okay, they are all unfossiliferous. Okay, they are all zoic. They're all banded rocks. They have foliations. ये इसके properties हैं. And what type? You know, they have schists. They have phyllites. They have gneiss. They also have granites. They are green stones. I think ये page number 38 देखना खुल्लर में. If you are with the new edition, you can look up खुल्लर. ठीक है, page number 38, basement platforms, and do draw the maps of the distribution. ये page number 39 निकालो अगर map आपके पास है, और maybe page number 41. You have a model answer on this also. Good, nice, Priyanka. Yes, you have a model answer too. So I think this is not a difficult question. Come to 2C. Come to question number 2C now. Now, honestly, do you want me to discuss 2C? इतना ज़्यादा कंटेंट आपके पास है कि इसको चुपचाप स्ट्रेट जीए से लिख देना. इसमें कोई ज्योग्राफी ऑफ मतलब, इनफैक्ट ऑनेस्टली स्पीकिंग मुझे ये डिस्कस करते हुए डर लग रहा है, because you guys will know more than me, okay, because of the GS content for current affairs. ब्रॉड आइडिया क्या पवन, एकदम स्पेसिफिक आंसर रखना है आपको, और इसमें कोई ज्योग्राफी मत देखना, सीधा कूद जाना ओके इनटू द आंसर. इसका ज्योग्राफी पोर्शन जो है, यू कैन ऑलवेज टॉक अबाउट 4 थिंग्स दैट एग्रीकल्चर रिफॉर्म्स जो हमें चाहिए, एग्रीकल्चर रिफॉर्म्स जो चाहिए, ओके, वी नीड द एग्रीकल्चर रिफॉर्म्स ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ एग्रो क्लाइमेटिक रीजन्स, जिसमें कि लोकल क्रॉप्स एंड लोकल कंडीशंस बेस्ड एग्रीकल्चर हो. That's very important one. The second aspect of agriculture reforms has to be efficient water utilization. So this is the geography part. बाकी तो आप लिखोगे as a part of in general. The farmers protest क्या है मंडी को लेकर, farmers protest क्या है MSP को लेकर, what is the process, what the protest related to the private sector and the issues of contract farming, ये तो आप लिख ही लेंगे. But you come towards the geography one, okay, Hindu editorials तो carefully लिखना. Okay, I mean, I was talking to somebody recently, what they said, he said was a very interesting thing. Good or bad, these newspapers have got extremely politicized. इसलिए articles को blindly मत उठाना. You have got entirely pro or anti हो रहा है. That's not the right way. एकदम पूरा media is completely polarized. तो geography में जो आप लेके आओगे, will come that the agriculture reforms So most of these reforms जो है ना, these reforms are based on the economics aspect. ये reforms में ecology लेके आना है, ये reforms में equity component लेके आना है, you have to talk about efficiency, वो लेके आना है. So that comes when you have agro-climatic regionalization based local crop production. So the crop combinations must change. ये important part of reforms है. Efficient water utilization, ये important part of reforms होगा. Like we have talked about food processing industries so that non-farm employment prospects बढ़ेगा. We must talk about diversification of agriculture, bring in the concept of conservation agriculture. I hope you know the conservation agriculture के क्या-क्या components हैं. Okay, yes. You also have to talk about very important component in India is dryland farming, and also the hill area farming. Okay, so इसको रखना as the important geography related content. इसको छोड़ मत देना. Maybe 1 or 2 paragraphs towards the end. So geographical concept related to the agriculture reforms. ये productivity से ये दो क्या करेंगे? They will try to optimize productivity, optimization of productivity. ठीक है? Okay, let's move on. Question number 3A. Discuss the causes and effects of urbanization and its impact on rural landscape and urban ecology. Essentially, इस question का दो part है. What are the causes and what is the consequence? और consequence को बताना है in the context of rural and urban, rural landscape and urban ecology. This is the question. To divide the question, I'll say keep this as maybe 30-40% and keep this as 70 or 60% of your answer. So this is a 20-mark question. If you go on to write about 2.5 or 3 pages, okay, so ये जो causes को लिखना approximately 1 page में लिखना, and this you write across 2 pages or slightly less than 2 pages को इसमें लिखना. What are the causes and the consequences? Causes of urbanization में, okay, you have historical factors as the cause of urbanization. इसको आप दो part divide कर सकते हो. Historical factors, there are factors related to industrialization. There are factors related to the infrastructure investments. Okay, now these are the positive driving forces for urbanization. Infrastructure में वो आएगा, expansion of roadways, expansion of railways, and the other aspect of urbanization. Does anybody know what is the in the meaning of urbanization? Urbanization is increase in the urban population, correct? Yes, you're right. So ये वाले जो हैं attractiveness of urban areas and its expansion, and the other reasons for urbanization also includes basically rural depopulation. Rural depopulation, it includes inequalities, and that's how you'll find that villages are being abandoned, migration from the Hindi hinterland towards industrial regions. You'll find large cities are growing faster than the smaller towns and villages. So class 1, class 2, class 3 are growing faster than class 5 and class 6 type of settlements. Class 5 and 6 are essentially the villages. They are getting depopulated in urban areas. So this is one aspect of discussion. Why do we have growth in urbanization? Why do we have? And of course, urbanization is also related to natural increase. Now, what you can do is you can use some theories here. I think anybody can tell me what theory can you use here to talk about urbanization? Anybody? What theory can we use here? Ravenstein? Yes, something better than Ravenstein. Zelensky directly talks about how urbanization is the consequence of industrialization. Okay, how it is related to the second and the third demographic transition, yes, and how in stabilization. Okay, so Zelensky ka model use kar sakte ho, Ravenstein, how people move towards, and of course, you can always use the model of cumulative causation and the growth of large and the dominant cities. ठीक है, so be alert. इसमें कोई right wrong नहीं है. It's up to you. You can pick up one or two of them and discuss it. That's your choice. But make sure that you do have a reference to some theory of urbanization. Otherwise, you are missing out the geographical part here. Now coming towards consequences. So rural landscape में क्या consequence हुआ है? You can talk about rural landscape from the angle of the rural-urban fringe. How there is transformation of the rural-urban fringe. That's a part of your rural landscape transformation. And this fringe transformation, you can relate with the type of houses, the type of infrastructure. Like you can talk about the construction material, the change of agriculture patterns, and of course, ultimately the depopulation of the rural areas also. Or urban ecology, you can talk in the context of loss of the green belts. This is loss of aquifers. Talk about fog and smogs. ये आपका environmental aspect हो गया. Urban ecology is also in terms of gentry, and you also have economic stratification, gentry and economic stratification, the growth of slums and ghettos in India, and you can always talk about urban decay. और इसी में आप ऐड कर सकते हो urban sprawl. Yeah, we talk about fog and smog. Okay, the fog and smog discussions will include the urban heat island. So organize कर लो. Urban ecology पे focus करो. Urban ecology here. Urban ecology का consequence is also because of slums and ghettos. इसका relation है with urban decay. Okay, and therefore you are going towards the process of sprawl, which is very exploitative, and therefore the problems of ecology. Yes, and is the example, give the example of Gurgaon, example of urban decay. Conclusion में, you can always say how urbanization is a kind of necessary evil. Urbanization, the need for urbanization planning. Talk about the concept of new urbanism. Talk about new urbanism. New urbanism, TOD based development, open areas, community and cultural. So take the answer towards the solutions largely. I think I had taught this as a straight question. 3B, outline the government of India's strategy for conservation of biodiversity of Northeast Himalayan region. I've taught this as a straight answer. आपके class notes में है. Directly मैं इसी answer से पढ़ा रहा हूँ. Okay? Northeast पे काफी focus है. And even if this question is not asked, but do put the important points from this answer into your notes. ये आपको मिल जाएगा. You'll get this answer also. So northeastern region of Indian subcontinent is one of the important biodiversity regions. It's a hotspot. Okay, and it's an eastern Himalayan. We always talk about the important floristic region here. This map tells us about the important biodiversity. Okay, we have got the Himalayan, biodiversity, the leopards, the monkeys, hornbill, mithun, one type of cattle. There are ducks, okay, red panda in parts of Sikkim. So some idea about, okay, what are the biodiversities, the importance of this region here. Strategy में आप याद रखना यही 4-5 strategies है. One is development of the protected areas and national parks. Okay, so we have developed these Namdafa, Manas, Kaziranga, Kaibul Lamjao. So I think you all know this. Then the second is development of corridors between the protected areas. So you have corridors, okay, that link some of these regions. So wildlife corridors by various species to migrate. Example इन्होंने दे दिया है from parts of central India, but you need to talk about northeastern. Okay, so example दिया है, but we need to develop corridors. Very important for this is, Kaziranga, again, and the Assam region में elephants dying because of fragmentation of the habitats. Okay, you can modify this one. Then we have development of hill regions, but the basic development of villages, habitation facility, ट्रांसपोर्ट, हेल्थ, ये 3 एरिया में कर रहे हैं. 2009-17 में हिल एरिया डेवलपमेंट के पार्ट में we have developed these areas, okay, as a part of developing the whole region and involving the local population. Case study is Singchung Community Reserve, okay, Bugun Reserve, SPR Reserve, okay, it's considered as a conservation wildlife species category में आता है, and they are developing this as a part of 2-3 areas in Northeast. So local population, okay, then integrated development, talk about the corridors, and third is the special, okay, regions, protected areas like wildlife sanctuaries and the national parks, biosphere reserves. ये आपका 4 component है. ठीक है, so I think this is more or less a set answer. So 3, I'm not discussing 3C. Okay, 3C आपको पता है, major tribal regions and the problems, irregular notes से ही है, nothing most answer. Come towards 4A now. Come towards 4A. So back to our page. So it says, although dairy sector has the potential to diversify Indian agriculture, the potential has largely remained untapped in the country. Okay, so I'm focusing on some of these promising sectors. Okay, okay. Now dairy sector and the potential. So introduction, you can talk about India's agriculture is largely mixed agriculture, where livestock, cattle, poultry, okay, sheep and goats have been integral, but traditionally the livestock have been part of the subsistence economy. India's agriculture is a mixed agriculture. Livestock is part of the agriculture, it's integral to agriculture. It includes cattle, poultry, sheep, goat, but traditionally the livestock have been part of the subsistence system in the economy. Then you can always mention, एक line पे कह सकते हैं, that Operation Flood, okay, and the cooperative movement in the dairy sector, it changed the perception of livestock. Yes, absolutely. We are the largest producer. Okay, so your data says 400 million tons, okay, of milk. Okay, so we are the largest producers. This is your introduction. Now, if you want a diagram or a schematic, okay, you can always talk about the map of India and talk about some of the milch species across India. आपको डेयरी के बारे में बताना है ना? Okay, so a diversity of milch breeds across India. And मैंने आप क्लास में prompt किया था, know some names. Mahiwal, you have got Amrit Mahal, Tharpakad. If you know some names, let me give you the page number. Yeah, page number 609 and 611. 4-5 names important है milch breeds में, cattle में, Gir, Sindhi. They are found in parts of Saurashtra, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Sahiwal. उसके अलावा Dioni breed. This is in Andhra Pradesh. Remember 4-5 names, okay? Okay. Then you have got some other breeds which are mixed breeds, dual purpose breeds. Mein you have got Tharpakad in Sindh area, Okay, Mewati breed, parts of Haryana and UP. We have Ongole breed, Andhra Pradesh. Ongole breed, Andhra Pradesh. Page number 611. Khuller, Indian Geography by Khuller. And I'm talking about the fourth edition, ये chapter number 18 में. So you draw the map of India and show some distribution of important cattle. Okay, 4 or 5 names will do. I think it'll be important in some way, dairy and livestock. So introduce this and then say this. And then you come towards what have been the challenges. Challenges in the expansion and further development of the dairy sector. Now, dairy sector, जब कहते हैं ना, the dairy sector includes milk production and collection, processing of milk in milk packets, and we also have the ancillary products, which includes cottage, cheese, includes ice creams, confectionaries, again sweets. Okay. And another component is branding and exports. Talk about the milk sector. These are the 4 components: milk production, collection, processing of milk, and the sale of milk packets. Now in India, Operation Flood ne kya kiya tha? Does anybody know? Of these 4 things, what did Operation Flood succeed in? Like it succeeded in 1 and 2. This 3 and 4, 3 to maybe thoda sa ho gaya. 4 wala part we have not been able to do it. Branding and exports we have not been able to do it. Okay, our iska main reason hai that our infrastructure, our chilling and processing ka jo infrastructure hai, this has been non-existent and it has been poor. Our corporate expertise and scaling ability has also been very poor. The infrastructure has been is very, very capital intensive. This capital intensive. It requires transportation. It requires dedicated corridors. So where the collection is done locally, supply chain management. हमारा जो supply chain management hai, this has been not very successful. So as long as the collection and processing is done in local areas, maybe in and around states, we have succeeded there. But the moment we come towards, competition with the foreign players, exports, and one of the biggest, of course, letdown has been, the trade policies and the trade and tariff barriers related to agriculture and dairy products. Not entirely, Dina, because ultimately the answer has to be a bit longer. Diagrams bhi chahiye. Okay, so I will not encourage you to write the entire answer in short points. So these are the reasons. So look at the question now. The question says, although dairy sector has the potential to diversify in agriculture, the potential has largely remained untapped in the country. So the bulk of the answer is going to be elaboration of these points. A non-existent is the third component. Okay, we have not done much on these 2, ancillary products and this. No, do not write in one short points. Don't do that. In the GS ko bhi na pura answer short form mein mat likhna. Okay, it's nice that if you can write some complete sentences with some discussions. Okay, you can actually start the answer. You can introduction mein on second thoughts. You can start with the Dalwai Committee. Remember Dalwai Committee talking about doubling of farm incomes mein? And one of the recommendation is diversifying the livestock and also increasing the productivity of agriculture, exploring non-farm avenues. So, वहां से आप शुरू कर सकते हो if you want to start off. It will be a nice idea. Okay, so this is how you can supplement the income of the farmers. इसको induction में ही रखो, this much maybe, and the bulk of the answer is here. Bulk of the answer. And conclusion karna, importance of dairy sector. Apart from income aspects, how is important for health and nutrition. India has problem of protein, energy, malnutrition, the problems of stunting, problems of children, girl child, midday meal schemes, the poor breed problem. Okay, so we need some type of intervention, hybrid wala ho, indigenous. Okay. Mention Rashtriya Gokul Mission, Rashtriya Gokul Mission for augmenting the domestic breeds. So that takes care of question number 4A. Let me take a 4B, okay, before I let you go. Otherwise, we will get cramped. 4B question. Describe the flood-prone areas and the management problems in Ganga Plains. Now see, the technique I used for Terai regions, what I did was, I talked about talking in the context of regions. So I say, we talk about the flood problems of Ganga Plains. Can you talk about the problems in terms of regions? जैसे कि flood problems of lower Ganga, या इसमें आपका West Bengal and Sundarbans आ जाएगा. The flood problems of middle Ganga, this will include Bihar, problems of river Kosi, meandering also, and shifting of the rivers. Flood problems of upper Ganga problems में flooding में largely because of canal irrigation and poor maintenance of canals, and the flood problems of the urban areas and cities in the Ganga Plains. This is basically related to urban floods. अब आपका आंसर बन सकता है. The question is very open question. The flood-prone areas and the management problems in Ganga Plains, and suggest challenges faced by these areas. ठीक है? If you write this answer as a generic answer, फिर आपको पक्का problem होने वाला है. If you have attempted this question, notes बहुत दिक्कत होगा. But if I divide the answer in terms of regions, कि बताओ lower Ganga, West Bengal में, how we have river braiding, these are alluvial channels, we have a sedimentation, like large rivers and the courses are blocked. Okay, this will take care of the reasons and what are the challenges and solutions. You come towards Bihar, okay, you will talk about river Kosi, shifting courses, meandering courses, and talk about solutions here. Dam karna hai, pakka banana hai, okay, not allowed to shift so much, flatter areas hai, slopes hai, talk about that. Upper Ganga region में canal regions area, जहाँ canals है, without the proper maintenance of canals, which includes command area development program to management, talk about that. Okay, and urban floods in the Ganga Plains because of bad urbanization. Try this answer now. But canals, wherever canals are not properly managed, they're not properly maintained. The canal problems का problem ना बहुत, okay, in the upper Ganga Terai part में बहुत ज़्यादा है. Okay, places like Sitapur, okay, places like I said Bahraich, okay, big flood problems in these areas. Siltation of canals, non-maintenance of canals, encroachment of canals, improper regulation. Yes, absolutely. Okay? So wherever they have the water diversification systems and the infrastructures have not been well managed, those areas have lot of flood problems. Sarda Canal, we have the Agra Canal, Sarda Canal, Agra Canal. These are some of the longest ones. The flood problems of northern plains you can compare with. Iske upar you can add, okay, you can add that Ganga का जो flood problems हैं, they're also related to Himalayan cloud bursts. So whenever you have got cloud burst Himalayan region में, खासकर Uttarakhand areas में, okay, you can have downstream floods, okay, and these are related to climate change, global warming, and the rest. talk about the problems, and then you can have 1 or 2 paragraphs on the solution. So what are the solutions? What are the solutions? Solutions will be flood zonation, afforestation, okay, river basin management, urban drainage, urban stormwater drains. Okay, it's a generic 1 or 2 paragraphs of the solutions. Did you all understand this technique of discussing anything as regions? ये समझ में आ रहा है कि नहीं आ रहा है? Or discuss the answer on the regional perspective. In fact, these are some of the tests that we have. Okay, solutions में you have okay afforestation, river zoning, maintenance of canals. Okay, वही solutions आएंगे आपके. Hazard mapping, absolutely. Hazard mapping is important. Question number 4C के लिए, I'm going to share a document with all of you. See if you find some time to look that up. This is a document published in 2019, and I think it's important this year because एक साल हो चुका है. I'm putting the document on the channels. Okay, geography में डाल दिया मैंने, enrichment and test series. Okay, you are the ones. There's a landslide risk management strategy. इसका जो page 17 और 18 देखना, which has the executive summary. What can I'll teach something tomorrow. I'll teach something on this, but I think it's also important. Don't read the whole document. Read page number 17 and 18, which is the executive summary. Okay, bye bye. Bye. Take care.